Hi, my name is Meg Edwards and I'm a GTD coach. And, we are almost at the halfway point of me going through the first 3 books that David wrote, celebrating the first book being 25 years old. And today I wanted just to take a step back and just share with you one of the things that I love about GTD is the freedom that it gives me. And it was one of the things that so attracted me to the Getting Things Done methodology when I heard David talk about how he wanted to experience this level of freedom in this lifetime. And that generally speaking, he was a pretty lazy guy. And he said, why would you want to learn productivity from somebody who works too hard? That he's really spent all these decades trying to get from here to there with the least amount of resistance. And that was so appealing to me. Because I always found that when I was learning these, productivity strategies, they either were boxing me in with rules and it was too much structure, or it wasn't enough structure. So if I had too much structure, I felt stifled and I felt boxed in, and I don't like that. And if I didn't have enough structure, I felt like I was spinning my wheels. And GTD was all about these best practices, and that it also didn't have rules, and I don't like rules. So for me, it was just such a great fit. And I think that David does such a beautiful job in Ready for Anything, Chapter 50, kind of talking a little bit more about this, about what it is that really attracts people to GTD. And I thought that I would just read it to you today, because I know a lot of people don't have this book. I really can't recommend this enough, because it's the why behind you do the first book, which is just really the mechanics to get you to that place of freedom. So he says, who's really interested in productivity? I mean, really. We're frequently asked, how can I enlist other people around me to hop on board with this approach to getting things done? It's so simple, and it would make our life, work, and relationships so much easier. This is often accompanied by an unspoken frustration. Look, I see the value of implementing this. Why don't they? Why do some people get this productivity enhancing methodology and others not? Why are we as likely to have a 14-year-old student catch the spirit of the productivity principles as a CEO or a mid-manager or a soccer mom? And why does one manager or CEO or soccer mom take to this while another one with the same kind of work and personalities does not? After 20 plus years, which is now probably 30, 35, I've been able to find only one common denominator among the people and organizations that have most implemented our productivity methodologies. They have a consistent internal forward momentum. It's not lip-served or merely conceptual desire to improve, but rather a real deep-seated pull towards some improved future state for themselves, or at least for things they feel responsible for. That's why people in organizations that look very similar have highly varying degrees of attraction to what we do. Their drive to get somewhere easier, faster, and better can be quite different. Here's the ongoing paradox. The people who need what we do the least are the people who use it the most. Why? Because they're already in the driver's seat and they're already in motion. Without a gut-level sense that you are ultimately in control of what's happening to you, you won't ever consider the option that you could manage it better. And if you're not propelling yourself forward to some degree, you won't have any real reference point for wanting to do something different to make it easier, faster, better, even if it kissed you in the face. There is a simple but not obvious truth about productivity enhancement. If you aren't identified with getting someplace different from where you are and with improving the quality of your experience in the process, you probably won't invest the energy to explore ways to do things better. You also have to be willing to admit that you might need to change some behaviors. If you're interested in making something happen and truly hate wasting resources or stressing yourself inordinately, you'll be open to and hungry to at least explore best practices you may not even know about. The Formula One race team spent thousands of hours and millions of dollars testing and installing the most minute of processes systems and behaviors that might give them a split-second edge when the chips are down. But if you don't think you're in a race, or you don't care how good you can get at what you're doing, or don't really need to relieve your stress, then these kinds of investments would obviously be a waste of time and resources. Doing what you'll need to do to free up drag would seem a drag. Researching and sharpening processes will not always be the most strategic focus for high performers, but they'll always have their antenna tuned for such opportunities. So don't be too discouraged if not everyone on your block buys into what we're trying to accomplish here, and what's the next action is the operant question of work. Don't be too surprised if your spouse or your boss or your assistant or your teenage son isn't particularly open to objectifying and managing all of his or her commitments and communication seamlessly. You'll be sharing some common sense with them for sure, but many of them you might as well be from Mars. We are working towards the goal that these thought processes will one day be modeled, taught, and expected in our educational systems from the get-go. Perhaps they will be the standard operating procedure for most everyone, and will all be into bigger and better problems and opportunities. Meanwhile, we'll be satisfied to support those who don't really want to take it on and run with it. I love this chapter, and I read it to a lot of my clients because I think it's also just really validating for them about the investment that they put into their GTD practice. And I'm always planting seeds with people and letting people know that there is this methodology out there when they need it, particularly when people ceiling out on their own methodology and it's no longer working for them. So given all of that, I, as always, would love to hear your thoughts and comments and reflections about what I just shared today. So have a wonderful day. Thank you. For more GTD resources, please visit gettingthingsdone.com and David Allen's YouTube channel. For more information on GTD coaching, please email us at info@gtdfocus.com or visit our website at gtdfocus.com.